Okay. TruScreen is a device that's used for screening for cervical cancer. It's the only kind of its device in the world. It uses light and electricity to differentiate between normal and abnormal tissue on the cervix. And unlike the pap smear or HPV DNA testing, which is the modes used in Australia and in some major Western countries, we have no need of laboratory infrastructure. So we are ideally suited for low and middle income countries when up to 90% of the deaths from this terrible disease occur. The company is listed in New Zealand. All its operations are Australian. We have commenced the process to be listed on the ASX, and we'll come across, I think, in March of 2020. We sell via distributors in over 31 countries, but we have about 6 key markets: Latin America, China, Russia, Africa, India, Southeast Asia and the Middle East are all our target markets. We have regulatory approvals in all those markets, including the CFDA in China and the CE mark. We are in commercialisation phase. We are not an R&D company. We are a company that manufactures and sells product right now. And we're clinically validated, and we have recognition from the WHO, the World Health Organization, as a device that is suitable for low and middle income countries who wish to introduce screening into their health programs. Market cap is about New Zealand 25 million. Sorry about that. And a share price of 11 cents New Zealand. From what I've just heard, that market cap is significantly undervalued. If I can just get this to come across. Our target markets, as I said, are low and middle income countries. Western countries, Australia, New Zealand, the US, Canada, etc., they have an existing laboratory infrastructure, an existing cadre of pathologists that can do screening. Other countries have minimal or nil infrastructure for screening. 90% of the deaths from cervical cancer occur in the countries that are indicated here. That's over 1 billion women of screening age. That's our target market. Tick it through again. Looking at the third column, keeping this short, this market will grow due to the World Health Organization initiatives that will be announced in 2020. The draft strategy has already been announced recently. It calls for up to 70% of women in the world to be screened by 2030. And I'll give an example of what this means for us. In China, to do this, they will need 90,000 pathologists if they went in the traditional screening methods. They currently have 10,000. They can't afford to implement the screening programs that WHO are recommending. They will go broke trying to do it. But with our device, they can, because again, you don't need the pathologists, you don't need the laboratories. Our successes so far. Our sales have grown 132% year on year from last year. I think our total revenue is up 43%. We have distribution in 31 countries. Of those, 6 are actually key markets. In those key markets, we have NGO and key opinion leader engagement has already occurred. We have our distribution in place. We have our regulatory approvals. We have public health programs, pilot programs in the public health systems in these countries. Our R&D is complete. Our second generation device is in the market. And of course, we have our own in-house manufacturing for our key intellectual processes. Just trying to get this to click through. The device itself and our revenue model is very simple. It's a razor blade model. There is a device and there is a consumable. The device is the TruScreen device. The single-use sensor is the consumable. For every patient, for every test, there is a single-use sensor. So we have annuity revenue, annuity consumable revenue. Bringing it through, trying to keep to the 5 minutes. As I said, it works by using light and electricity and a proprietary algorithm to determine whether tissue on the cervix is likely or unlikely to be normal or abnormal tissue. And it does that instantly. The whole exam takes about 2 minutes. I'm skipping through this because of time. This puts the picture very clearly about our revenue growth. So this is year-on-year growth, and you'll see that there are 3 ups and 1 down, and the down one is very important because it shows our moving away from a reliance on non-sales revenue to having our income based upon sales revenue. So our consumable revenue has grown 150% year-on-year. The device revenue grew 150% year-on-year. Total revenue grew 43% year-on-year. But our other income, which is really the Commonwealth Government's R&D tax offset, that dropped by about 50%. Revenue goes up, reliance on non-sales revenue comes down, and that's the TruScreen story. 4 years of continued sales growth now, and now we're about to really take off. Now we've got things in place, and now World Health have set a timeline for governments around the world to take on cervical cancer screening, and we're well placed to take advantage of that because our technology suits these low and middle income countries. There's the 4 years of consistent sales growth, and we expect that growth rate to continue. Our key markets are put up here on the chart. You'll see 52% of the sales last year were in China. China will always be our biggest market. There's 400 million women of screening age. It's where we've been in market the longest. It was always our focus. We have activities going in all those other markets, and I'm going to come to that in a second and to show you how we work. But one of the important ones for us is to tie up with AIDS councils around the world and with UNITAID and the World Health Organization and the Clinton Health Access Initiative, because women who suffer from HIV are 5 times more likely to die from cervical cancer. So again, and it's in countries that are low and middle income countries where this is a problem, and it's another market for us that we particularly suit. Key market, China. By far the biggest market. As I said, 400 million women at screening age, 52% of our sales. Key pilot public health programs that we're already engaged in. One with the Centre for Disease Control for 20,000 patients. One with the Chinese Obstetrics and Gynecology Association for 20,000 patients. Early results from Hunan Province, 2,000 patients. With the Chinese Obstetrics and Gynecology Association show that TruScreen's sensitivity and specificity combined exceed the accuracy of both Pap testing and HPV in that country. I think we're 87% specific and 89% sensitive, which is fantastic for a device such as ours and well above our target rates. In other countries, you can see in Latin America and Mexico, in all these areas we have what we want to have, except Russia, which is our newest market. But you'll see the screening populations, our engagement with non-government organisations, KOL engagement, pilot programs in place in public health institutes, and distribution and sales commenced. And that's the story. I won't go any further. Time is up. The story is we are selling in the countries we had always targeted, and the World Health Organization and major international groups now identify cervical cancer as a target disease to be eradicated in this century and to be eradicated as a public health problem within the next 10 years. And we're perfectly placed for that. Thank you.